Most people live their entire lives chasing what they already have the potential to possess, but they miss it, not because it's not available, but because their mind is not ready to receive it. The promise doesn't come to those who beg. It doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to alignment. And that alignment begins in the mind. You can pray all you want. You can wait all your life. But if your mind is still rehearsing fear, still holding on to the identity that was shaped by pain, still feeding on small thinking and survival mentality, you will reject the very thing you were meant to walk into. The truth is, nothing around you has to change first. The world isn't waiting to shift. You are. The door to your future is already unlocked, but your mindset is still sitting at the door, afraid to turn the knob. And let me tell you why that matters. Because your life will never rise higher than your thoughts. You can't live in abundance with a scarcity mindset. You can't embrace greatness while secretly believing you're unworthy. You cannot enter the promise while clinging to an identity that was shaped in the wilderness. There's a reason why some people see opportunities in storms while others only see fear. The difference is never the environment. It's the mindset. Some of you are praying for answers, but the real answer is waiting inside your mentality. The version of you that's ready for the promise is already inside you. You just haven't let it lead yet. You've been letting your trauma speak, your limitations speak, your history speak louder than your potential. But now is the time to shift. Not later, not when you feel more ready. Because your feelings will lie to you. Your emotions are not the leaders of your destiny. Your mindset is. And the moment you shift your mind, you give your life permission to shift with it. Have you ever felt like something greater was calling you, like a future version of yourself was standing just out of reach, waiting for you to catch up? You see glimpses of it. You feel the pull of purpose deep down, but no matter how hard you try, it's like your life keeps circling the same places, repeating the same patterns. The breakthrough is close, but it always seems to slip through your fingers. Here's the truth no one told you. The promise isn't missing. It's not delayed. It's not locked away from you. It's right there. Already prepared, already positioned. But your mind has to be ready to hold what your heart is hoping for. You don't get the life you dream about. You get the life you're prepared to manage. And preparation doesn't start with action. It starts with mindset. The promise is available, but until your mentality shifts, you will keep walking past the doors that are meant to open for you. We often think the delay is external. We point to circumstances, timing, people, even luck. But what if the real delay is internal? What if the delay is your belief system, still programmed by fear? What if it's your self-worth, still shaped by past rejection? What if it's your vision, still blurred by the opinions of people who never saw your value to begin with? That's a painful realization. But it's also incredibly freeing, because if the problem is inside, then the solution is too. That means you're not stuck. You're just out of alignment. The shift you need isn't somewhere out in the world. It's not hidden in the next job, the next relationship, or the next opportunity. The shift you need is in how you see yourself, how you speak to yourself, how you think about your future. You have to ask yourself, am I really ready to receive what I keep asking for? Can I handle the weight of the very thing I desire? Because the promise doesn't just require faith, it demands capacity. And capacity begins in the mind. Think about it. If you still think like the version of yourself who was abandoned, overlooked, or doubted, then you'll interpret every opportunity through the lens of fear. You'll sabotage the doors that open. You'll second guess every good thing. You'll shrink in moments where you're meant to rise. The promise has structure. It has expectations. It requires a new rhythm, a new level of discipline, a higher way of thinking. So if you're still clinging to the old mindset, you'll treat the promise like a threat instead of a gift. That's why life keeps nudging you to grow, not to punish you, but to prepare you. The version of you who is fully equipped to walk in the promise isn't buried in the future. That version is already in you right now, waiting for permission, waiting for you to stop rehearsing your fears and start rehearsing your potential. It's not about wishing for more. It's about becoming someone who can sustain more. And that starts with the mind. Because no matter how great the promise is, if your mindset isn't ready, you won't recognize it when it arrives. Or worse, you'll reject it not because it isn't real, but because you still feel unworthy to receive it. The promise hasn't passed you by. It's waiting. The question is, will your mindset be ready when it shows up? And this is where most people miss it. They expect a new life, but they're still thinking like the old version of themselves. They want new outcomes while clinging to old patterns. They say they're ready for more, but deep down, they're still operating with a mindset built in a season they've already outgrown. You can't enter a new season carrying the mentality of the one that nearly broke you. That mindset may have helped you survive, but it's not designed to help you thrive. And what served you in survival mode will sabotage you in promise mode. Because here's the thing, the door to the next level doesn't just test your readiness, it tests your identity. And if your identity is still wrapped in old disappointments, old habits, and old thinking, you'll walk into new spaces with the same fears. You'll shrink in rooms where you were meant to expand. You'll second-guess opportunities because you're still carrying doubts from a version of you that doesn't even exist anymore. You've changed, but your mindset hasn't caught up yet. This is why elevation feels uncomfortable. Growth isn't just about learning something new. It's about unlearning what no longer belongs to you. It's about challenging the stories you've told yourself for years. Stories like, I'm not ready yet. I don't deserve this. What if I fail again? And if you don't confront those stories, they will quietly guide your choices. They'll keep you living under a ceiling that was never real to begin with. It's like trying to download a new reality while still running on old software. The system crashes. It can't handle the upgrade. Not because the upgrade is broken, but because the foundation wasn't prepared to hold it. You want to step into the promise? Then you have to release the version of you that was only built to survive the wilderness. You have to let go of the mindset that told you to play small, to stay quiet, to wait for permission. That mindset was forged in the fire of past pain, and it kept you safe, but it cannot follow you where you're going. This next season doesn't require the scared version of you. It requires the renewed version. The one who dares to believe in their worth without needing external validation. The one who makes decisions based on vision, not fear. The one who refuses to let yesterday's experience define tomorrow's possibility. And yes, letting go is hard. That old mindset feels familiar, safe, comfortable. But comfort is not a sign of alignment. Sometimes it's the biggest threat to your future. You have to decide, do I want to stay comfortable in the old, or am I willing to grow into the new? Because you can't bring both versions of you to the next level. One of them will have to die for the other to live. And the moment you choose to release who you were, you make room for who you're becoming. The promise isn't hiding. The door isn't locked. But the key is your mindset, and only you can turn it. That's why mindset is not just a part of the journey, it is the journey. Your mindset is the gatekeeper of your destiny. It stands at the entrance of everything you've been praying for, everything you've envisioned, everything life has tried to convince you you're not ready for. And whether you realize it or not, your mindset is either opening the door or keeping it locked. You don't get what you want. You don't even get what you deserve. You get what your mindset allows. And that's the part no one tells you. You can have the skills, you can have the opportunity, you can have the timing, but if your mind hasn't expanded to match the level you're stepping into, you block your own breakthrough. Not intentionally, not out of fear, but out of unconscious self-protection. Because when the mind sees something unfamiliar, it calls it a threat, even when it's a blessing. And that's dangerous, because when your destiny finally shows up, it won't knock down your walls. It will wait at the edge of your readiness. And if your mindset isn't in alignment, you treat what was meant to grow you as something to run from. Have you ever sabotaged a good thing without knowing why? Have you ever turned down a chance because it felt too big, too fast, or not the right time, but later realized it was exactly what you needed? That wasn't bad timing. That was your mindset doing its job, protecting you from the unfamiliar. But in doing so, it also protected you from transformation. Because the mind doesn't just hold memories, it holds limits, invisible ceilings, silent rules, beliefs shaped by what you've been through and who told you who you were. And unless you challenge those beliefs, they will challenge every opportunity that tries to pull you forward. The mind is a filter. Every word you hear, every risk you consider, every decision you make, it all passes through the filter of what you believe is possible. If your filter says, I'm not enough, then every door looks like a setup, every blessing looks like a trap, every step forward feels like danger, and your destiny gets delayed. Not because it isn't real, but because your mindset shut the gate. That's how powerful your thoughts are. So if you want to change your life, you have to first challenge your gatekeeper. What are the silent beliefs running the show behind the scenes? What old scripts are still playing in the background of your thoughts? Because you can't keep asking for more while holding on to thoughts that were shaped by lack. You can't keep hoping for impact while secretly believing your voice doesn't matter. You can't stand at the edge of a new dimension and expect the gate to open while still operating with the blueprint of your past. Your life will only expand to the level of your mindset's permission. So the question is no longer, when will the door open? The real question is, when will you stop blocking it? And here's what makes it even more real. Every transformation you're waiting for, every shift you're praying for, every breakthrough you're chasing, it all begins in thought before it ever shows up in reality. Nothing changes around you until something changes within you. We're taught to focus on the external, fix the situation, change the environment, get the opportunity, wait for the right time. But life doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to who you are becoming. And who you are becoming starts with how you think. Thoughts are not harmless. They are architects. They are not background noise. They are blueprints. Every belief you hold, every assumption you carry, every story you repeat in your mind is quietly building the walls, windows, and doors of your future. If your thoughts are small, your reality will shrink to fit them. If your thoughts are broken, your reality will reflect the fractures. But if your thoughts expand, if your beliefs stretch beyond the limits of what used to define you, then your life will have no choice but to grow with them. Everything you want begins with a mental permission slip. The question is, what are you allowing yourself to imagine? Because Until you can see it in your mind, you won't recognize it in your life. If your thoughts are stuck in survival, even when opportunity knocks, you won't hear it. If your mind is locked in limitation, even when the path opens, you won't walk through it. Thought is the seed of reality. Every building you've ever walked into started in someone's mind. Every invention, every business, every movement, every life-altering decision, it all began as an idea. Nothing was real until someone believed it long enough, deeply enough, boldly enough to give it shape. That's the power you carry, even when you forget. The world may not give you permission, but your mind can. People may not believe in you, but your thoughts can choose to believe anyway. Your past may not have been kind, but your mind can still plant something new. But let's be honest, changing your thoughts isn't easy. Not when you've been trained to think small. Not when your environment rewarded fear. Not when the people around you only know the version of you that doubts, waits, and overthinks. That's why transformation requires intention. You won't drift into new thinking. You have to decide to renew it daily. You have to fight for thoughts that align with your future instead of your past. You have to challenge the lies you inherited and replace them with truth that empowers. Because as long as your thoughts stay the same, your life will echo the same stories, repeat the same cycles, and replay the same seasons. But the moment you start thinking beyond where you are, you start living beyond where you've been. So ask yourself, what thoughts are you building with? Are they serving the life you desire or sabotaging it from within? Because your reality is not just shaped by what happens to you, it's shaped by how you interpret it, how you respond, and most of all, how you think. You don't need everything around you to change. You just need one thing inside you to shift. One new thought, one new belief, one new internal decision to stop living according to limits that were never yours to begin with. And that's where the shift gets real, because the life you're reaching for will not respond to fear. It won't answer to hesitation, to doubt, or to the excuses fear whispers in the background of your dreams. It only responds to alignment. Fear is loud, convincing, and familiar. It shows up dressed as logic, disguised as protection, sounding like, let's play it safe, or maybe later. But all fear really does is delay your becoming. It stalls your growth and keeps your life tied to a version of you that was never meant to carry your future. Alignment, on the other hand, is silent power. It's not loud or showy, but it's consistent. When your mindset, your choices, your vision, and your identity are aligned with your purpose, things begin to move, not because you're chasing them, but because you've become magnetic to them. Alignment doesn't mean perfection, it means congruence. It means what you say, what you think, and how you act all speak the same language. No more saying you believe in your future while thinking like your past. No more dreaming big while moving small. No more hoping for more while making choices that scream you're still afraid of losing what little you have. The reason so many people don't step into the promise isn't because it wasn't theirs. It's because their life was speaking fear louder than faith. They weren't in position. Their words said they were ready, but their decisions said otherwise. Their vision was ambitious, but their habits were loyal to a mindset of scarcity. And life listens. It reads your alignment. It doesn't care what you want. It responds to what you're prepared to sustain. So if you're walking into new levels, you can't keep choosing based on who you were. You must choose from where you're going. Your decisions have to be rooted in vision, not in the shadows of fear. Because the promise is not attracted to confusion, it's attracted to clarity. And clarity shows up when your inner world stops contradicting itself. When you stop saying, I'm ready, while living like you're not. When you stop pretending you're not gifted just to make others comfortable. When you stop giving fear more authority than your potential. You have to live like you believe your life has purpose. Think like you belong in the room. Move like you've already seen the outcome. Not because you're arrogant, but because you've aligned yourself with a reality that's bigger than your fears. And yes, it's risky. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's easier to stay in the known, even if the known is unfulfilling. But alignment isn't about comfort. It's about position. The moment your life aligns with the truth of who you really are, the doors you thought were closed start responding. You stop chasing and you start attracting. You stop begging and you start building. You stop wishing for something to change and you become the change that shifts everything around you. The promise you've been waiting for doesn't move when you hesitate. It moves when you align. So now the question isn't, is it possible? The question is, are you aligned? Because everything you're waiting for is already waiting for you. It's not in the next opportunity, the next connection, or some distant future you have to chase down. It's in the now. In your decision to think differently, believe differently. You are not stuck. You are not behind, you are not broken. You are powerful, capable, and born with everything you need to walk into the life you were created to live. But you cannot bring old fear into new territory. You cannot carry doubt into a future that demands confidence. And you cannot expect to live out your promise with a mindset built on survival. This is your moment, not next year, not when it feels safer, right now. Shift your mindset. Break the ceiling. Step into the unfamiliar. Be bold enough to believe that your future is bigger than your fear. You've already survived the storm. Now it's time to rise from it. With clarity, with courage, and with conviction. The doors are waiting. The promise is ready. All it needs is a version of you who finally believes you're worthy of it. Go forward. Be fearless, shift and receive everything with open hands and a ready mind. Good luck, and thank you for listening.